This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Leafs Nation, here we go. It is time for Offside, and this is the Leafs Weekender. What's going on? It's your host, James, from Offside, of course, and we're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs and what is to come for these guys this week. Fired up, absolutely, to talk about the blue and white. So let's get into it. It's the week that was for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Only 2 games on the docket, and that's all right. The Maple Leafs picking up the victory over the team we all wanted to see them beat, and that was the Edmonton Oilers, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But we do have the week that will be for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm wondering, Leafs Nation, what is your record for the team this week? I want to hear it in the comments below the podcast. Let me know what you think. We got the Flames, we got the Kraken, we got the Canucks. I want to know what you think the last 4 games before the Four Nations Cup. I want to see where you come out. For me, I'm looking at like this: 3 games, not even 4. I'm saying 2-0-1 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, coming firing out of the gates here for this week. Oh, we got Andy coming in saying it's going to be 3-0-0. Let's get it interactive. Get in here. All right. So, yeah, I'm calling 2-0-1. The one game I think the Leafs will have a little trouble with, I think, will be the Vancouver Canucks. It's a Saturday night. We're changing the time for them. You heard Connor McDavid crying about it this week. Oh, the Toronto Maple Leafs come in and we got to play at 5 o'clock. Well, you know what? Vancouver does the exact same thing when the Leafs come in. But guess what? When you're the meal ticket for the league caters to you and their fan base, not yours. Vancouver, if you don't like it, well, tough for you. But the Maple Leafs this week, I'm calling 2-0-1 for the blue and white. And hey, we're getting some positive news here for the Maple Leafs, as we've seen on Saturday night. John Tavares back in the mix. Matthew Nyes back in the mix. But unfortunately, as one guy comes back, another one goes out the door. It looks like Oliver Ekman-Larsson may miss some time. We'll know the severity of the injury as the week progresses here. We have a game coming up Tuesday night, so hopefully tomorrow we do get a little clarity on what OEL is going through and what will happen. Obviously, a lot of trades going on around the league. Maybe the Leafs dip their toe in that water a little early before the Four Nations Cup, get somebody here, start getting them acclimatized to what it is to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. And of course, Anthony Stolarz, another player working his way back from an injury, said really he feels great, just needs to get back into game shape, which we all know game shape's different for everybody. But for a goaltender, they really want to make sure they're minding their posts, the sliding across, all the movement feels good, especially when you have to make the saves that the Leafs count on our goaltenders to be making on a consistent basis. So I look at it like this and say, okay, Anthony Stolarz, take your time. There's 3 games left. Maybe you get into the Thursday game against the Kraken, feel a few shots, see how you feel. Saturday night, you give it to Joe Wool, and then you go on the Four Nations hiatus, and you see how everybody responds and feels when they come back from those injuries. But I look at it like this as well. For anybody who's nicked up right now, you got 3 games, and a lot of these guys will be taking time off unless your name is Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Willie Nylander. Then you're going to be playing some heavy minutes and time for your nation. But hey, one guy who won't be playing, we'll talk about him in a minute, is Jani Hakan-gone. That guy on the injury report, well, like I said on the sandwich board, Hakan-gone, because I think this guy's going to be done. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Lineup talk for me. I want you to clip this one. I've said this 100 million times. Jim Berger knows it. Rod Peterson knows it. Heck, anyone who's ever come on the show knows how I feel about this. When you put players in a position to succeed, they usually find a way to do so. When you put players where they're supposed to be slotted in the lineup, they don't look like they are a weak link to this team. Now, there still are a few weak links in the lineup, but for me, when you put guys in the proper positions to play, you get Saturday night. You get guys slotted where they're supposed to be on the 3rd line, on the 4th line, heck, on the 2nd line. You get where they need to be playing, and it allows continuity to flow throughout your lineup. And I understand injuries have played a factor of why guys have been elevated, but it also shows you how paper thin the Toronto Maple Leafs can be without guys like John Tavares, without guys like Matthew Knies, when Mr. Domi is not playing the way that he is supposed to be playing for this team on the ticket that he's on. Listen, it's not the most expensive one, but come on, Domi, we need some points. We definitely need some secondary scoring out of him as well. A lot of people saying, hey, fire him off to the sun, trade him away, buy him out in the offseason. No, this guy committed to being here. He can be a useful piece for this team. We've seen him with Matthews tail end of last season, so he does have the dishing power to throw it to stars. And hey, maybe on a line with another center that comes in through the trade deadline and a Nick Robertson or someone else, we'll see what happens. Speaking of Nick Robertson, did leave the game on Saturday night against Edmonton, did come back later in that game. But it's another guy for me that if you can move him out and get something in return in a package that really elevates your lineup, again, slotting guys where they need to be and help this lineup be what it needs to be consistently, I'm all for it. I know we all want to see the guys that we draft get better, succeed, and be a part of this lineup for a long time. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you're not the belle of the ball. Sometimes you have to be the trade piece that gets us that belle of the ball for the lineup. And the Leafs do have some holes. So we'll see what happens there. But for one hole for me, I look at this team, and guys, I've been saying it all season long. And yes, Clark, I'm bringing out the drum. I'm starting to beat it. And not for a trade this time. It's for the coaching staff on the power play. It has become, yet again, way too predictable. Yet again, not enough movement. You see the successful power plays. I even said it to John Trottier when the Leafs were playing the Ottawa Senators. Just the movement that they had. They don't have all the finish in the world. I understand that over in Ottawa, but they do have the movement. They do have the defensemen all looking around, trying to make a block, trying to get in the lane, trying to block a pass, but they just snap it around so well. They had a little bit more finish guys, like an Austin Matthews or a Willie Nylander. That power play really could definitely do some damage around the league. So I'm looking at the Maple Leafs and saying, why is it so stagnant? Why are they not trying different things? Why is there, it looks like movement, but it's just around the perimeter. Get a shot on net, get something greasy, get something grimy, get something going, get this squad fired up. And the power play to me needs to be better. And then the penalty kill. I've been on Lane Lambert's side this season saying, hey, he's been an advocate. He's been on the bench. He's yelling. He's pointing. He's screaming. He's red in the face. The veins are popping out of his neck. And this guy is just putting on a show on the bench, trying to keep that power play excited and elevated and ready. But now it's not. It's starting to tail off and drop. And I'm wondering if we need to get the proper guys in here to get that done. And a guy like Sean Kuraly jumps off the page to me as a guy who could be on your 4th line, as a guy who could definitely drive your power play and be something that really works to help it out. Because I do think they need a little bit of augmentation on that penalty kill just to spike it back up and really shut teams down again. I don't know. I'm just seeing it. I'm saying this is not what you want to go into the the playoffs with. A team that's sputtering yet again on the power play, and a team that's having difficulty keeping the puck out of their own net on the penalty kill. I know they're not the worst in the league, but you can be a lot better. And if you want to be a Stanley Cup contender, you better be in the top 10. Hell, you better be in the top 5 in at least one of those categories, power play or PK, and you better be bringing it every single night. And right now, this team to me is not bringing it the way they need to. It really needs to be elevated and fixed up. Let's get to the Oilers game. So the Leafs pull the Montreal Canadiens. Almost. They go up 3-0, take their foot off the gas, which they're known for doing, and they allow a talented Edmonton Oilers team to get back into the game. Luckily.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge. From worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
They get that goal in the third to put themselves up by one more, which proves to be the winner in this game, to be honest. But you look at Joe Woll playing his heart out, and I remember in the playoffs last year, they asked him about all the rubber he was facing. He said he's having the time of his life out there, having an absolute blast, just stopping pucks and doing what he needs to do. And you saw the save at the end of the game. I thought that Joe Bowen was going to jump through the microphone listening to the way he was going through that. It was absolutely awesome. But that game left a lot to be desired. You had an opponent on the ropes, up 3-0. All you needed to do was show that you had a little lock-it-down hockey, especially with the reinforcements in the lineup. Now, I know OEL went out. I know Nick Robertson went out. He did return. But this was a game where you could really start to show your stranglehold and what you were able to do to a team, especially one that went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year in the Edmonton Oilers. You could have shown that you had the ability to lock it down. Now, I know they did win a one-goal game, but if you're up like that, why not keep your foot on their neck and keep it going instead of shutting it down like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. Why this team feels once they have a lead that they can let up. And I know teams are notorious for it. I know a 3-0 lead is the worst lead in hockey. I get all of the cliches, everyone. I get it. But this team really needs to start putting it together defensively and really honing in and locking in on closing down these games. Not so much blowing teams more so out of the water 5, 6, 7-0. No. I want to see this team up 2-0, up 3-0, lock the game down from there. One goal goes in. All right. How was your response? The response Saturday night was there was more goals going in for Edmonton and almost became a tie game. Hey, Klingberg, thanks for doing one more thing for the Leafs as you were offside and allowing the Leafs to challenge that when they did the timeout. Obviously, one of the best video staff in the biz. That's what they get paid, probably the decent bucks to do what they do. But it shouldn't have got to that point is my point. This team should have shown what they are and how they can be and what they want to be in the playoffs. But I see them still as an incomplete team that needs a couple more pieces, especially in that bottom 6. Now, you see on the sandwich board, Yanni Hakan-gone. He was a defenseman for me that I wanted to see be that penalty-killing defenseman, be that bottom pair guy. I always say this, a net front clearing, big, Gronky type guy that just lays the body in front of the net and moves people away from Woll or Stolarz, Murray or Hildeby. It doesn't matter. I wanted that guy to be Yanni Hakan-gone. Blocking shots seemed to be his MO, just like it was with Tanev. It would have been great if he was healthy. He's not. He's Hakan-gone. unfortunately. He's not playing in the Four Nations. Craig Berube was asked for an update. He was skating with the team. He doesn't have one. There's no update. That doesn't sound promising to me. I understand it's a cheap contract. I understand you can bury it. I understand you can move on from the guy, so to speak, still have him around the team, try to get him up to speed, try to keep him healthy. But as for his playing career, it seems like it's probably done. It seems like the injury news about his knee in the summertime, we all probably should have bought in a little bit more and understood that this guy probably wasn't going to be a guy. And that kind of sucks because what he brings is kind of what we're missing. I would love to find a defenseman like him that is healthy, that can block shots, clear the front of the net, just be a rugged type guy that really brings it. I know you're going to say, oh, we got McCabe and we got Benoit, and OEL's got a little spark to him too. They're not that big, gronky, net front clearing kind of guy. And that's what the Leafs need right now, especially to protect Woll and Stolarz from the Perrys of the world. And by the way, I don't know if you follow over on Twitter. If you are following on Twitter, thank you very much. Drop a subscribe over on YouTube too. What are you waiting for? It's been a little bit of a time. Get yourself on the subscribe. We got videos coming. It's going to be fun times for the rest of the season. I dropped a little tweet saying, hey, isn't it fun to watch Corey Perry lose again? Because they showed a dejected Corey Perry at the end of the game. And it seems to be a common theme in kind of big moments. You know, that Stanley Cup kind of thing. I know everybody's going to say, well, at least the Leafs, they never get there. At least the teams he plays for does. Well, they never win. Just going to say that. So you always see a dejected Corey Perry. It's kind of funny to see. I'm sorry. The guy's a worm. You heard John Tavares. You see him falling on goalies and falling on other people and just kind of hurting them. I don't like it. Don't like the way it is. So, yeah. Make sure you drop a follow. Have a little fun. But Hakan-gone. I think Hakan-gone is over and done with, and I think the Leafs will find a Brbbw kind of defenseman to patrol in front of their net to be that guy, especially on the PK. And then Stolarz, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He's close. Like I said, give him a game. Give him the Seattle game. Let him feel it out. Let him see how he feels. Then obviously rest him again. Let him see what he's got going on. For me, I look at Stolarz and say, hey, if this combo can work, him and Woll, and they can get the saves and do all of the things that those two need to do to keep things rolling, I'm all for it. So we'll get Stolarz into that game in Seattle, see how the knee is. You got the Four Nations break coming up, so he gets a little game action and then rest again just to put himself to where he needs to be. Then, my guy Domi, Leafs Nation, put it down. Put down the hate. Stop. Press pause. This guy loves being here. Okay? He's a firecracker. I understand his cap hit. We should demand more, and I definitely do. And I think it is coming. I don't know if he's dealing with something. I don't know if it's just a constant moving around the lineup and not having a firm spot. Seemed like when he had a firm spot with Matthews last year, he soared. This year, when he had a firm spot with Robertson, I think it was McMahon or whoever it was when that line was clicking. The ID line, I think they called it on Sportsnet. That was something, right? So for me, I'm looking and saying, hey, let's get Domi back to where he needs to be after the Four Nations. Get him a couple of line mates. I'm sure there's a couple of moves coming, and we're going to see what it is. Let's lead into that right now. One guy I wanted the Leafs to get, and I was beating the drum. I wanted Yanni Gourde. Looks like Gourde's out for a while. Does that lower the price on him? Do the Leafs go, hey, we still want this guy. We know his injury. He's got a hernia surgery. I know he's going to take a little while to come back. How about we shave it down to this, that, or the other thing so we can get him in our lineup? It'd be great. Or maybe you say, hey, we want him and Alexiak or something like that. Just get two good players onto this squad. Another guy is Scott Lawton. If Philly's really going into a fire sale, is that a guy you chase after? And then, of course, I said earlier, Sean Corrali, another not so sexy name on the trade board, but a guy that can come in, be in your bottom six, make some noise, and be on the penalty kill. Shore up what your problems are. The penalty kill is a problem right now. The bottom six is a problem right now. Shore it up, and then find yourself. I know they always go at the deadline and find themselves a Labushkin or a Shen or this or that. Find somebody that you can get that maybe you can lock in for a couple of years. That's just going to be that net front clearing guy. We need it. We need somebody. And then we need a big body, obviously, for the power play. I'm saying Nyzy. That's the guy who's going to do it. And we saw it on Saturday night, the way he's able to be in tight and just move that puck and still score. That's a thing of beauty, my friends. Thing of beauty. And I said it last time, I would have the blue beard. I don't know where I put it. I have one left for our friends over at Boxing Rock Brewing Co. This right here is the Offside, the Leafs Weekender. So subscribe over on YouTube. Follow us over on TikTok. Make sure you follow me here on the Twitterverse or the Bird app or whatever they call it these days, X. But get in there, check it out. But right now, the Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior of the week for me is going to be Joe Wool. This guy obviously was supposed to be the starting goaltender. Got hurt at the beginning of the year. Anthony Stolarz took the ball, ran with it. Then Anthony Stolarz gets hurt. And all of a sudden, you now have Joseph Wool being the guy who's doing the show. For me, this guy has picked the team up and said, all right, I'm not going to be 100% every single night the best goaltender in the world. You're going to have to pick up the play around me with your defense. But I am going to make the saves at key times. 1 second left, Saturday night against the Edmonton Oilers to keep the game where it needs to be. And that's one thing I've been screaming about from the high hells is, hey, we need to make the save at the key time for this team to go where it needs to go. And with Stolarz and Wool, that has been happening. But right now, this week, my Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior is Mr. Joseph Wool. Leafs Nation, shorter one tonight, just getting back into the feels. You know what it is around here. But this right here is Offside Hockey Talk, where the Maple Leafs and hockey come to talk for the Leafs Weekender. Cheers.